Karen from County Fairgrounds USA, countyfairgrounds.net. Welcome to today's podcast.
Okay, so you're J.D. Platt. So tell me, Mr. J.D. Platt, how did you get started with this?
The Flying Dog Show. Well,
yes.
I guess we can start from the start. I definitely grew up around animals my whole life, horses, dogs, cats. Just kind of always had a passion for animals and was kind of that boy that took care of the dog while the sister and mom did all the horse shows, and just kind of taught dogs basic tricks throughout my life as a little kid, teach me how to pull myself around town on skateboard, sit, heel, stay, come, sit up, chase a ball, that fun stuff. So I had a dog, a German Shepherd Black Lab from 9 to 25. That was my original Frisbee dog. And I just taught her kind of the basic stuff, just like I did growing up, all the basic commands. And one day I decided to play Frisbee at a park here in Bend, Oregon, and she caught like 7 out of 10 Frisbees. I'm like, that was interesting. I've never tried Frisbee in my life. Oh, okay, maybe I should do that more often. So I was a pro snowboarder for 13 years. And so back in the 90s, in 1996, when we used to do things like hitchhike, I was hitchhiking home from my local mountain. A guy picked me up, and I said, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm a professional Frisbee dog entertainer with NFL halftime shows." And I'm like, "What?
Oh.
You got to be kidding me. That's the coolest thing I've ever heard." I'm like, "I just played Frisbee with my dog the other day." So he was my mentor for a couple of years. I got the bug, and it's 27 years later, I've done all sorts of stuff. So that was kind of the how it all started, destiny, being at the right place at the right time. So,
I've interviewed a lot of people throughout the years, throughout the country. I've never interviewed a dog show before. I've never seen anything quite like you. So
thanks.
You're a little different.
There's not a lot of us that do what we do.
I guess not.
Yeah, exactly. So it's I enjoy it.
How did you you must have had a first show someplace. Do you remember what it was and how it went? I
do. I remember the actual first show. It was with that gentleman I mentioned. His name is Perry Lenhart. He invited me up to a little resort outside of Bend for a volleyball tournament. So it was, I think he paid me like $25, and I just did a little demo. My German Shepherd Black Lab at the time, Paulina, was 85 pounds. So I was doing some cool stuff with her, some very unique things. And then he invited me to do a football kind of training camp down in California for the San Francisco 49ers. And I started competing for a couple of years. And so, I just kind of started my business as far as an official name a few years into getting into it. And after competing in snowboarding and continuing to compete in dog stuff, I just kind of formed my own company, and I could go on and on and on about that whole process. But that was my first job. So,
I watched a bunch of your videos before I called you today. You only use girl dogs?
I did for a long, long time. Probably, 23 years, right around there. I did all females, which is not really advised in dog training. They say to kind of mix it up with males and females. So,
well, yeah.
I don't know. Everybody always asks me, why female dogs? And I don't know. I think it was just a quirky thing of the marking that the males do, peeing on stuff, peeing on your banners at shows and people's feet at meet, greet, and pet areas and marking themselves everywhere. I just dealt with all females for a long, long time, and then I rescued a dog that was a border collie. That was my first male, Bosco, who unfortunately, sadly, passed away a couple weeks ago. So he was my first male, and now I still then I rescued 2 other males after that. And I don't know about the theory of all females don't get along. Now that I mix into males, it gets a little crazy sometimes, and they kind of get bossy and try to become the alpha, knowing that I am, and they kind of butt in. And 2 of my males they definitely had it out for each other. They just, I don't know what it was, but just one wanted to be the bigger jumper than the other, and the cool dude and the boss of the whole pack. And so it was a clash a lot, but so now I've kind of mixed it up a little bit and have a new puppy that's 9 months old, a the Australian Shepherd that's a male, so I'm kind of exploring into the male category.
Okay, so where do you get your dogs, though? Do you breed them?
No, I've never bred in my life, and I never will. I just think there's enough breeding out there in the world and enough humane societies and shelters and rescue organizations trying to find homes for dogs that I try as much as I can to rescue dogs and go through all sorts of shelters. I work with my local shelter a lot and kind of put the word out to them if they ever come upon a dog that looks like it has potential, being a big jumper or whatever it might be, to get a hold of me. And I found dogs all sorts of different places. My original top dog in my life, Galaxy, started my whole business. Just did so much with her. She was free out of the newspaper. So I get them all sorts of different places. I've had guys at rodeos, hey, you want a dog? I've got a dog, and I don't want it anymore. And I'm like, sure, working dog, okay. So, but yeah, as much as I can, I try to rescue and go through. There's some organizations I've worked with that foster dogs and stuff like that, and so yeah, it's kind of a big part of my life and big part of my business and something that is dear to my heart.
Are you married?
No, I'm not.
You're married to your dogs.
You're skipping subjects.
I was just wondering what your wife would think of this.
Oh, actually, my wife was with me, so we've been divorced for 13 years, and we get along great. We're best friends. I'm great friends with her husband, her whole family. We have a son together. It's all peace and harmony. There's never been any issues. It's the most wonderful, magical thing. But she actually was really, really into animals when I met her, and that's when I kind of started my business, when I was married to her. So she supported me big time and helped out a lot. And she had 4 dogs when I met her, and I had 4 dogs. She had horses and cats and birds, and we got donkeys when we were married. And so we were big animal people. We still are. And she's big with rescuing right now, and her daughter, who's a friend of mine, she started a rescue organization down in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. And so we're all big dog and animal people, my whole family, her whole family, my son. So yeah, animal people.
Yep. So how old is your son?
My son is 17, going to be graduating here in June.
Okay, so where's he going? Is he going to work with you in the show business?
He actually has been working with me in the show business for quite a long time. He started when he was probably, 6, 7 years old, kind of touring around, doing some fairs and festivals. I'd bring him out in the show, and he'd hand out free stuff, and I'd do some comedy with him. And now that he's older, he goes to some fairs and helps me work. And but he's a big hockey player. He's an aspiring professional hockey player, so he just lives and breathes hockey and trains and lives up in an ice hockey academy up in Wenatchee, Washington. So that's his deal. But he still enjoys the dogs, first of all, loves them, and helps me out occasionally. But older he gets, I think the more he's just, really, really focused. He's always been focused on sports and ice hockey, but that's his thing, and we're supporting him big time. And so he does that most time.
So how long is one of your shows usually?
My shows are right around 30 minutes. I
Okay.
do a meet greet and pet area afterwards. I've got the largest meet greet and pet area out of anybody. I've always brought every single one of my dogs out. If I have 12, 15, 9, whatever it is, I've always brought them out to have everybody engage and pet the dogs and ask me questions afterwards. And my show incorporates all sorts of stuff, from crowd participation, comedy, acrobatic trick routines. I dance. I was an entertainer as a kid and dancer and DJ, so I do some really cool music and some fun dancing and getting the crowd engaged and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good time.
That's what I was going to ask you, if you'd ever really done anything else.
I have quite a bit in my life. Like I mentioned, professional snowboarder. I grew up playing sports my entire life. Was pretty fluent with many sports that I tried, and wanted to focus on a couple growing up, so I did, and it led to be one of the top junior Olympic skiers in the West Coast, and went on to big junior Olympic stuff. And then somebody introduced me to that thing called a snowboard in 1983, and did that professionally for 13 years, traveled the world, and absolutely loved that. I grew up as a talent show kind of kid, and still to this day, I'm a Michael Jackson impersonator. So I love dancing, and I've been a DJ in town, and so it seemed to kind of encompass and be a life story to build what I have right now with this career. And I've always been super creative, and I'm back in the snow industry. I'm a rep for 5 different brands with skiing, with snowboarding, with outdoor industry stuff. And then I also always wanted my own brand of products because I helped develop and shape and kind of test a lot of stuff throughout my career with snowboarding and skiing. And I just always had this little creative mind of wanting to do just my own graphics and designs and stuff. So I saw kind of a niche in the paddleboard world. So I designed one of the best inflatable paddleboards in the world designed for dogs. So I started my own brand of paddleboards called JD Paddleboards. So I've got that rolling. So yeah, it keeps me all busy, kind of a seasonal deal with the dogs and the paddleboards. And then I switch everything over and go into the winter industry and travel around to 4 different states and sell products and travel with my dogs and do some shows occasionally in the winter, but most of that is spring and summer. So.
Okay, so how many dogs you got right now? I'm just curious.
I currently have 9.
Oh, okay, that's not too many.
Yeah. Good answer. I agree.
So how long do you think it takes you to train a dog? I mean, how long?
Each is kind of different. I mean, if I rescue a dog, it all depends on what they've kind of been through in life and traumatized with or ignored or neglected or abused or whatever it might be. It's all kind of a different situation with rescue dogs. If they're 2 years old, 6 years old, you kind of work around what's going on in their life. And most of the dogs I do pick up that I rescue, and whatever it might be from shelters or rescue organizations, I try to find most of them that are really, really into retrieving and want to work and just want to please you with playing and things like that. So, I rescued, for example, a dog recently from a local organization called Huna. Heard you needed a home, or heard you needed a home for a rescue dog. So, herding dog. Yep, something like that. Sorry. But local organization rescued this dog, and I could just, within the first toss, she did this backflip. I know how to kind of cue a dog to do a backflip if they're really focused and want to catch something, or super high drive for a ball, a pine cone, or frisbee. Of course, I work with frisbee mostly, so pulled out a frisbee. I got her to do a backflip in the first try. So I'm like, okay, and she seemed pretty well behaved and good mannerisms and nature to her. So yeah, I've taken her on, and I just throw her right into the shows, and we do a lot of practice prior to shows and figure each other out, and we're still figuring each other out. And if I raise a dog as a puppy, if I was to get a dog at 8 weeks old, it usually takes from 7 months to about a year and a half, 2 years. The earliest I've ever had is probably 7 months in a show doing full on everything. But most of the dogs, right around a year and a half, they're ready for the crowds, and they know all their tricks and routine and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of time and effort that I absolutely love and they love, and so it's always fun. And I try to go for different breeds. I don't just stick with herding breeds. I've had Indian dogs and coyote mixes from reservations. I have and had terriers, a lot of herding breeds, of course, the McNabs, Australian Shepherds, Blue Heelers, Kelpies. Love the Borders, and I've had a Whippet before, and lab mixes. So I try to challenge myself that way. But in general, most of us work with herding breeds, and they pick up what we do really, really fast and love to work, and their bodies are all built for what we do with acrobats and stuff like that.
So how many shows do you think have you been doing? About a year, do you know?
Event-wise, I'll usually do probably about 20 events a year, and that all fluctuates. I mean, it could be one of the events could be 18 days times 3, so you're looking at quite a few shows right there, but it ranges usually 200 to 300 individual shows, not days. Mm-hmm. So if you're doing 3 shows a day, you do the calculation of that. So yeah, it's a great schedule that I do. Pretty much August is always booked for me, and then from May to July, it's kind of hit and miss, and do a lot of different shows. And September, do a little bit, and it slows down once October hits, and then November we put everything to sleep and covers on the RVs, and dogs are home and loving the winter and run around in the snow.
So is there any place you would like to perform that you have not had the opportunity?
Ooh, good question. The first year I ever went full-time with another trainer who still is currently active in the sport, we did Dolly Parton's theme park.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten out of theme parks ever since then, but I think I'd love to do some type of, SeaWorld. Disneyland is kind of far-fetched. Maybe Animal Kingdom. I've had some friends do things like that. And there's some state fairs. The world's largest state fair, I think, is this Texas State Fair. That would be a great one. It's a lot of days and just big crowds. And we love big crowds. I love big crowds. I love entertaining for people and putting smiles on faces. So, yeah, there's definitely some big state fairs out there that I'd love to do. I've done quite a few state fairs around kind of the West Coast, but there's so many others that I haven't done that I would absolutely love to entertain and travel and do things like that. But state fairs are super fun. They're, at least 10 days and huge crowds and lots to see and do for myself. And dogs just love traveling and going different places. So, yeah, that would probably be it. Just a lot of different state fairs, the big guys. But I love the county fairs. I love any festivals. Shoot, I love a little birthday party. I love a little birthday party of 15 people. So,
well, there's a lot of states in the South that have fairs just about all year long. I'm thinking like Florida, Georgia, Arkansas, Texas, Arizona. I know this.
For sure. Yeah, Arizona would be a fun one just because their season is a little bit different than most of the fair seasons that run from May to, August, September. Since Arizona's so hot during that time, they kind of do some different kind of months and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd love to do some stuff down there.
Okay, so I really don't. You've got your snowboarding stuff, which is another thing. But what do you love the best, the dogs or the snow stuff?
Woo, that's even a better question. Probably the dog stuff, animals. Powder, skiing powder, snowboarding powder is one of the best sensations I've had in my entire life as far as a sport and a feeling of doing something physical. My dogs are physical, and I'm physically throwing frisbees and doing shows and stuff, but I've always been kind of an entertainer, and I love just making people happy in life. So when I go ride powder, it's more making myself happy rather than other people, even though people maybe watch my videos sitting in Alabama and get a smile on their face, hearing me hooting and hollering or whatever. But when it comes to the dogs, I absolutely love animals. Snakes are the only things I really don't like in life. I love animals. I'm a huge horse person. I just think the unconditional love and the beauty that animals can teach us of being just, good people and good stewards of, the world, and being happy all the time and not getting depressed, and just they just seem to always just adapt and overcome in life. And I admire that, to where definitely dogs and what I do with that is, it's a lot more work than what I do in the wintertime. Not saying I don't work hard in the winter, but it's work we love. We love traveling and all the equipment and packing and unpacking. And once we get it all done and set and we're out in the arena doing our shows, I love just the drive and the intensity that my dogs show every single time. They absolutely adore what they do. And I get a smile on my face, and I smile and crack up and laugh, and I'm just amazed every show I do for 27 years. It just blows me away how much I haven't burned out on it. I just really, really enjoy it.
Okay, so how do people reach you?
They can reach us in many different ways. We are all over social media. We have K9Kings on Facebook. We've got JD's K9Kings on Instagram. We have a website, K9Kings.com, and that all is the letter K, the number 9, K9Kings.com. Email flyingdogshow@gmail.com, and Google JD Platt, and you'll probably find us.
Okay, so what do you have coming up, JD?
It's a little slow for me here the next few weeks, but I've got my first fair down in California. I do a lot of fairs in the Central Valley and just all through California. I have a couple agents. One particular agent is based out of California and gets me quite a bit of stuff down there. So I've got a fair in the Central Valley in the mid-May, and then I just kind of start up right around June and start just flying through my schedule of a lot of stuff in Oregon, California this year, and from my local fair to California fairs to festivals to birthday parties to local dog events. I've got something end of May here locally, a big dog days of summer. We do some stuff locally with some other dog days of summer and some breweries and outdoor venues, little mini shows and things like that. But so I've got a good schedule set up for the year and definitely some coming in and look forward to another great season.
Okay, so all right, we'll get this up and hopefully you'll get some calls from it.
Okay, well, thank you for your time. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.